Hey, this is a non-scripted video, low production quality. All right, production quality is terrible. I apologize for that in advance. It just further illustrates my point. And my point is that you can have an enormous, fully painted army, and you can do it in a relatively short period of time. But what you need is a plan, and you don't even need artistic ability. There's no artistic ability in here. Okay, so before I bore you to death with a still image, let's just get to the video. We're going to start with the painting process. The painting process is about, for what I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you start to finish. There's only one cut, and it's minor. I do a second layer of paint on something that it's debatable whether or not it even needs it, but it's just what I do. And the whole process for a unit of Raveners is 40 minutes. Okay. Uh, yeah, so 40, 50 minutes, whatever. And this is with me having a camera shoved in my face. Like, it is very difficult to paint with a camera in your face. So, um, let's just straight up get into it, like right now. Okay, so here's all the paints that we're going to be using here. And there's a lot of Tyranids here. So we're going to use flat black 2X Ultra Cover Rust-Oleum. I don't even care what it is. You use car primer. That's a little thick. I would use something like this. And you're going to blast the heck out of it. Just blast the heck out of everything. And that's your first step, right? And now your next step is going to be this gray paint. It's cheap crafts paint. It's like $1.50. Don't use expensive paints on this stuff. This is the secret sauce here. This Deco Art Enchanted, like, iridescent blue, whatever. That kind of gives you this xenomorph sheen. You know, very nice. Love it. Bought everything they had. It's discontinued now. Sucks for you. Then you just need just like any sort of bright silver. Um, I've used a couple different ones, but this is my original bottle. Got it on clearance. That's why. That's why we have this color. But the silvers are all kind of the same. These are trash paints, by the way. All right, and so that's all you need for your basic Tyranid, Hormigaunt, Carnifex, whatever. Now, if you have a ranged model, I use this gray paint. I also use this for the wings and for brains and stuff as kind of like a base coat for our contrast paints. This is just some cheap craft paint. It was like $2 for this enormous bottle, and it's actually okay. And for my ranged models, I put this Striking Scorpion green over that dry brushed gray, and then I use the Celia green shade. Don't worry, I'm going to show you all of this except for this contrast paint stuff. And for the brains, it's Doomfire Magenta and Druchii Violet. And you could do this with craft paint, but it's worth it, the contrast paint. And then here we have Skeleton Horde, and this is very few models use this. This is for the face huggers. And then every model gets the base rim is this color, which I fear will soon become a problem for me because I think this is also discontinued. And this is my only bottle of this. Moccasin Brown. And that's the basing. Notice that there are no washes except for the contrast paint stuff. You don't need that. You don't need it. It's a xenomorph. You don't need that. So this is my original container here. Just to point out, the 10,000 points was this one container. You don't need multiple containers. If you're painting like 5 armies, you don't need but one container of this stuff. So it goes a long way. It's definitely worth it. Don't buy the Games Workshop stuff. It's obnoxious. This is what you want. Same thing. It has a different label now. But, you know, it's fantastic. Get that. And that's all you need. That's all the paints. And here's what you can come up with at the end. This isn't even in the 10,000 points. This is, by the time I've recorded this video, I have another uh 700 points from what I'm going to show at the end here. But you can see that the Turvagon has a little bit of everything. Turvagon synapse, so I gave him like little red thingies on the side of his head there, and he's got green stuff and blah blah blah. So, you know, this is easy stuff, okay? And you're gonna see how easy. These are your face huggers. This is the effectively the only thing that you use the contrast paint for, and I spray paint these white. And I'm pointing out here that um, the white makes your base rims look different. If you're not painting your base rims black, um, your base rims will look different depending on what primer color you use. And it's not that big of a deal, but when you put them next to each other, you can tell. And on later ones, I would paint them black and then paint the brown over it, but it's no big deal. Okay, so here we have our unit of Raveners. This isn't even in the 10,000 points. This is special just for you, okay? They've been spray painted black, and again, we're just gonna, like, our first step is we're gonna do a heavy dry brush of this kind of like a dark gray color. It could really be any sort of dark gray. It could even be a blue if you want, but this iridescent paint really does not like to be on anything but black. So this is just to basically get a little bit of value on these things. And yeah, uh, it's okay. Reset. This is my first time ever doing this, so bear with me. They all survived. It's totally fine. We're going to set up this camera, which is like directly in my face, okay? So this is, it ain't easy. I have great respect. There. So first step is dry brush this gray. This is the brush that I use. It's this Army Painter Masterclass Moderate Dry Brush. It's kind of like a medium firmness, I would say, if that means anything to you. You could also use just some cheap makeup brush like this one. I often use this one for wings, but you know, whatever you want. But anyways, this is what I'm going to use, just because you want something fairly large, but not so large that you can't fit it where you want the light areas to be, type of thing. But mo bigger, mo better. So we're just going to start off and we're just going to blast this guy with this gray paint. And you don't, it doesn't show up super great. And while I'm painting it, and while you're doing it, if you're following along, uh, you may notice that you can see basically no difference. What doesn't help is the lighting that I paint in is what you might call horrific. I basically just got like a window behind me, and then I turn on every light in the house, and if it's beyond 3:30 in the afternoon, I can't see enough to even paint this level, because I just can't see any change in the values. So it looks like nothing, but that's okay. You just trust it. It does make a difference, and you know, you got to do it. So here's the original color versus what we just did. And yeah, it looked like nothing, but when you hold it next to the other guy, there's a difference. He's less shiny. He's, you know, got some gray on him. He's not just kind of shiny black. Even though this is flat black paint, it's sprayed on so thick that it's kind of shiny. So that's one guy done. And then we're going to do the other guy. And I've recorded the entire process here just to show you just how quickly you can get through a unit of 3 elites doing this. These guys don't have ranged weapons, not that I've modeled them with. so we're not going to do that part. But your basic troops, right? Like Hormagaunts. This is the same process for them. There's a couple, I hit different areas of the model, obviously, but it's the same basic process. And what's great about this is you could always. My phone's ringing, so we're gonna take care of that. You could always come back later and take it to the next level. But for right now, what you're trying to do is just get a fully painted army on the table, or you're trying to get as many points as possible to uh, give your friends some really cool, epic, worst case scenario Tyranid invasion games. And unfortunately, Raveners are about the worst model I could have picked to demonstrate this scheme. See the difference? See, it's coming together. They're like these hunched over things. You can't even like barely paint them. It's it's really it's kind of obnoxious. I think my snake is trying to escape from his cage. So you no, stop that. You stay in there. Don't come out. We'll feed you later. Dry brush it. What else do you want me to say about it? Just blast the sucker. Okay. Um, Now, if you had an airbrush, you could totally do this with an airbrush. I have an airbrush that I have never ever used, just because there's setup involved in that. And this, I don't have any setup. I take out this little pad, and I get a paper towel and a shot glass full of water, and my lid of a cookie tin that I've been using as a palette, and that's it. And that's all you need. So here he is. He's done. Great, excellent. Nope, never mind. He's not done. Keep going. Um, See, the light was really bad today. There's like the dust of Armageddon is in the air, so the sun is not very bright. And I'm comparing him to this psychophage to see, did I go hard enough? It's easy to end up with different looking units. So I usually keep a completed one near me just to kind of like compare values to and make sure I have a consistent look, especially with our next step, the blue, right? So I'm just going to hit these guys a little bit more because I don't know. I think it's making a difference, but it might not be. It's kind of hard to tell. Like I said, it's very subtle. Very subtle changes, and who knows? Who knows if it's making a difference? Maybe I should have just blasted on the blue from the start, but I didn't. So this this is what we're doing. We're fully committed to this. I painted one Hormigaunt this way, and now I'm doing it forever. And speaking of one Hormigaunt, well, that's done. All right, let me get into the blue, and then I'll speak about the one Hormigaunt. Clean the brush. You know, as you can tell, my brushes are like well taken care of. There's no paint stuck in the bristles, and you know, do a little do a little cleaning, just really the bare minimum. Wipey wipe until there's no paint, and then wipey wipe again. I really only even halfway care about this brush, just because this is like this does 80% of the work is this brush alone. So it would be good to kind of preserve it. Also, the bristles are different than a regular makeup brush, so that kind of changes things. But anyways, let's move on. We're gonna take out our super wacky blue stuff and shake it in the background. And you can't see this, but it's happening. Shake it vigorously. I don't even know um, if I've shaken it enough, but here we're going to see what it looks like when you put it on the palette. It's this weird white stuff, and it's kind of, I don't know, it looks completely different than what you think it should look like, right? And so I'm going with the Master Class Mega Blaster here. The reason I'm using this one is because it is large and it is not currently wet. Uh, Otherwise, any dry brush is fine. And basically what you want to do is make sure that your craft paint is kind of dry before you start doing this, because you will take it off. The craft paint is terrible, but you kind of want to, this is kind of like halfway between dry brushing and buffing it on, and it's kind of, you're gonna have to feel it out when you're doing this. And again, it looks like next to nothing in good sunlight. You can see it, but you can kind of see when I turn it around that it's got the kind of xenomorph look. He's in the dark. Um, there's some sort of blue lighting effect going on, and these are scary uh dark creatures that you can't make out a lot on, but the high areas reflect the light, which is what we want. And comparing it to the original one, like, you can see, oh yeah, okay, I could see the blue now, right? But when you're putting it on, it looks like next to nothing. And this is where you really want um your your master model that you're comparing everything to, because it can be really easy to have completely different amounts of this blue stuff on there, because it's just kind of very difficult to see. And you can't even see when you're taking it off the dry brush, you can't see what you're doing. You literally have to do it by feel. Like, feel with the back of your hand the dry brush, and like, does it feel like it has enough paint on it? Or does it feel like it has too much paint? So anyways, as we continue this, back to the single Hormigaunt. When you're painting an army, um, and you're like me in that if your models are not done in 3 days, they're never getting done. So it's a really good idea to do some kind of a test model, and it's also a really good idea to kind of take as many shortcuts as humanly possible. Like, we watch these speed painting videos. I watch them all the time. They're great fun, but you don't. These guys are doing like highlights and stuff. Do we need that? It's kind of debatable. If you are smart about your prime method and you're smart about the colors you pick, maybe you don't need to highlight. Um, I'll maybe do another video where I show off some other armies I've painted where they look just fine. They don't get highlights. I don't even know if they got shades on them, but I was smart about my paint choices. And the way that I make those paint choices is I have my end goal, right? And then I get army men, just little regular plastic army men, and I test my schemes on the army man before putting it on any of these expensive Games Workshop models. Uh, Putting it on the Games Workshop model is kind of scary for a lot of people, myself included, because I really don't want to strip anything. I've never successfully stripped anything. I don't want to strip anything ever. So all my used Tyranids, however many layers of paint they had when I got them, they got one more. And it was a thick layer, okay, because it was black covering up everything. So make yourself a test model and make yourself a recipe, and then kind of evaluate, is the recipe does it achieve my goals? And can anything be taken out of it? So we're done with the blue. Look, fantastic. The blue's done. And we can see they got kind of the sheen. Clean the brush. Again, the stuff's invisible. How do you know when it's clean? You don't. You just kind of hope and pray that it's clean. And one day the brush will probably be a solid brick, and it'll be because of this stuff, because I can't see it. The next step is the silver. Um, Now you have to actually paint the model. Before we were just kind of like hitting it with the brush. Now we have to actually paint it. So this silver is, there's a reason it was on clearance. It's bad. It's not. It's not good at all. It's thick. It has poor coverage. Um, but in reality, the coverage is not that much worse than anything else. But it's kind of, we're on a budget here. There's a lot of models. We're not gonna go in there with lead belcher. We're gonna go in there with craft paint. And that's what it looks like. It's just a blob. And so you're gonna take your fancy brush here. These are two fancy brushes that I have. They come in a multi-pack. You can see they're kind of jacked up, but only kind of. You really don't need a lot of precision for this. Thankfully, the Tyranids are designed in such a way that painting the claws and the teeth can be done pretty roughly, uh, especially for older models. The newer models, there's extra stuff to look at, but the older models, uh, just slap it on there. One layer, who cares? Another thing about sort of speed painting type of things is multiple layers. Why bother? Um, if it doesn't cover in one, why are you using it? Type of thing. Or if it doesn't cover in one, maybe you need to revisit your base layer or your scheme altogether. Maybe your scheme is not for you, right? Uh, this has really poor coverage, but I'm helped out a lot by the black undercoat. And I'm also helped out by the fact that these are xenomorphs and they're scary and they're dark and you can't really see them well in the dark. When do you ever get a good look at a xenomorph? Not in any of the good movies. So we're gonna go with this sort of move. You can't see them. It's super difficult to, as the video goes on, it becomes more and more difficult for me to paint these on camera, and unfortunately they're a little bit far away, but just paint the claws. It's not that hard. Just paint the claws with the biggest brush you possibly can. Um, the reason I'm using this brush and not a larger one is because my next largest brush is obnoxious. So uh, this is the one we're going with. And all I do for these is I do the little pointer claw and the mega claw, and I don't paint any of the other claws. Um, the reason for that is, where do you stop? On some Tyranids, there are spikes all over the place. Where do you stop with the spikes? Uh, Once you've set the precedent that you're going to start painting all the little spikes. I decided that I would not set that precedent, and I would only paint claws and teeth. So, paint all the claws, and I'm going to do all the claws first, and then I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, do the teeth. You don't have to switch to a smaller brush. You can do it with a big brush. Um, and and I kind of recommend that you use a larger brush than you think you're comfortable with, because it will help you out in the long run. It's going to speed up everything and also kind of help you with brush control. As you can see, like, just slam it in there, and it looks okay when it's done. I'm not sure what else to say here. Uh, it's just a video of me painting a bunch of claws. but this time needs to be filled with something. So I'm going to talk about, I don't know, it'll come to me. I'll just ramble on. Look, claws, paint the claws. Um, yeah, I didn't paint the tail claws on these. Sometimes certain Tyranids I do. It's sometimes when you're looking at the claws on Tyranids, they don't have a defined, like a cuticle on the claw. And this has often been a problem for me. If you're airbrushing this or you're doing like wet blends or something, you wet blend it in there and it looks beautiful. But if you're doing something like this, how do you reconcile that? So a lot of times this is on like the tails, or like extra spikes coming out of the face. They're just not as defined as these scything talons. So I just don't do them. You forget those things. And this is like without a doubt the most time consuming part of this paint scheme is painting these claws. And that's excellent, okay? We thought ahead and said, well, my xenomorphs are pretty much black. I think I'll prime them black, and then I don't have to ever pick up black paint. Ever. So, like, that's pretty cool. I knew a guy who was painting Black Templars, box art style, right? You know, he's going for his Black Templars, but really they should be like Hospitallers, right? Because they're the guys who wore the black and the white. Templars were wearing white and red or black and red, depending on what rank they were. Anyways, he primes everything white and then hand paints black, but they're mostly black. And they have like white accents. So why not paint them black and then never have to pick up black paint? I messed up right there. If you mess up, it's been seen in a bunch of videos. Like you just get some water on your brush and kind of wipe it away. Uh, if you do it really fast, it's super easy. We're also helped out by the metallic sheen of the blue is gonna kind of hide any metallic flakes left from the silver. It's totally fine. But anyway, like if you're painting Black Templars, don't prime them white. What are you doing? You're a crazy maniac. Unless you were really trying to lean into contrast paint or something, like I don't see a point. I have another friend who plays Blood Angels, right? And his Blood Angels are kind of like a black and red type of thing. More black than you typically see on box art Blood Angels. But he doesn't prime them red. He primes them, uh, whatever the heck he primes them. I don't know. It's not red. But if it was me, you prime the sucker red. And then you paint the black on, and black's going to go on great over red. And then, you know, maybe like your first step is you dry brush kind of like a brighter red, and then you have all your, you know, your bare minimum of values to where it doesn't look like it's just spray painted. And then you paint on your black, and then oh my gosh, it's done. So that's kind of the thought process here. That's also the thought process with every army I have painted, with the exception of two, which I don't know, if I were to do videos on those, there's reason behind that, and but effectively the reason is I was going to lean very heavily into contrast paint. So there you go. Paint the claws, man. What are you doing? You're getting distracted. Paint the claws. We're almost done with the claws. We're like 2/3 maybe of the way through these claws, and you know we're actually about 2/3 of the way through the painting process as well. Uh, Truly, the claws are terrible. If you're doing batch painting of a scheme like this, so like say you were painting like Necrons or something, and you were painting little green orbs on everybody, right? And you do the dry brushing step in front of this, and you're like, wow, I got through all that silver really quick, and I dry brushed 85 Necron warriors in one sitting, and it was totally fine. What will not be totally fine is painting 80 Necron warriors worth of orbs back to back. So, you know, there's certain aspects of this paint job that are like you can totally batch paint the gray dry brush. You can totally like, and I mean like super batch paint. I don't mean just like this, like paint 3 models. I mean like 40 models at once. Uh, you could do the gray like that. You could do the blue like that. You can do the bases like that. Don't do the claws. It's torture. It's terrible. I did it before. I didn't do 80 at once. I did 40 at one time, and it sucked. But it got done. And then I had 40 Hormagaunts, which I was quite proud of at that particular moment. And then the itch, you know, the high only lasts for so long before you have to obtain more Tyranids. So here we are on the last one. We're going to paint all these claws, and then we're going to do the teeth. And the teeth are actually way easier than the claws. The teeth are like a totally satisfying way to do these. Speaking about speed painting, right? And you know, if you're watching this, I would assume either you feel sorry for me and you want to give me views, or you like to watch speed painting videos and these 24-hour challenge videos and those sorts of things, right? But they're always, these things are elevated, right? Like, um, Ninjon did a video, a good video about speed painting an army. And a lot of the things that he did in that video were things that I agree with, that I was already doing. Like, don't thin the paints. If you're speed painting an army, forget thinning the paints. Slop them on straight out of the pot. Uh, I totally agree with this. There's, even when I'm painting the try-hard army, and I mean like the try-hard army, which they could also be another video. I don't thin the paints. They're the only times that I thin the paints is when I'm going for a super smooth base coat of something that does not go on too great, like red, white, yellow, green. Um, you know, blue. You slap on blue. You can slap on black. You can slap on some reds. Slap on brown. Who cares? Don't thin the paints. They look just fine. These are not. I'm not gonna win Golden Demon. You know, I might get a prize for armies on parade just by sheer volume alone, but I'm not gonna get it on painting prowess. Not for these guys. And to like further illustrate that, Like, my try-hard army has less than 1,000 points fully completed. And I have had these models for 6 years. So, but 6 years I had those guys, and I don't even have my full 2,000 point army painted. I don't even have a 1,000 point army fully painted to completion. I have the combat patrol fully painted to completion, plus a singular dreadnought and one character, and that is it. But these guys, well, I didn't start painting these guys until 10th edition had basically kicked off. It was like announced, right? And I have over 10,000 points fully painted. Why is that? Because um, you know, this is fun. I like the Tyranids, and I purposefully made my paint scheme super easy for me to do. Just gonna touch up that spot because the silver paint sucks. I don't know what to tell you. If you were painting this with lead belcher, you'd probably never have to even touch these, but I do. And so I took the small brush, and then you just kind of drag it across the teeth a little bit. Easier to do on the larger models, not difficult on these types. Becomes super difficult on old Hormigaunt and Termagant sculpts. But for the most part, that's like a horde. You just like slap the brush to the side of their face and you're like, you got some teeth. And if it goes above your teeth, well, you're snarling now. And that's like your xenomorph bone showing. Um, you know, like whatever. So anyways, we do the teeth. If you get the silver like in spots you're not supposed to do, you can just wipe it off with your fingers sometimes if you're fast enough. Doesn't always totally come off, and if there's any recesses, you'll have a problem with that. But if it's a smooth surface, you can sometimes just take it right off. And anyway, do his little teeths. And once these teeth are done, right, that's like the xenomorph is complete. You are done with the xenomorph. If it's a ranged model, at that point I would dry brush with that light gray. Um, Anything that I wanted to be green. Or if it's a synapse model, I would dry brush with the light gray anything that I wanted to be brainy pink red ish. And then you have to wait for that stuff to dry for a long time because it's awful, awful paint that doesn't stick to anything. And then you just hit it with the contrast paint, wait for that to dry, and then you just hit it with the shade, and then it's done. But if it's a guy like this, who has no ranged weapons modeled on him, but he's going to have them. He's got thoracic bioweapons, you just can't see them because there's no reason to not take those. So why bother sticking them on there? And give myself more stuff to paint when I can use them for conversions, which you'll see later in the video here. You'll see a bunch of conversions, but we're done with that. So the next step is to, I might as well just for show here, okay, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to change the water to get out the metal flakes, and that's just for the the one or two people who are going to watch this and be like, there's metal flakes in the water. Who cares, right? Because for the most part, I'm just painting it straight out of the pot, and there ain't no metal flakes in the pot. So this moccasin brown, like I said, this could become a future problem for me because I have used this to paint the bases on everything, and I don't have any more bottles of it, so I'm gonna have to start soon looking for some sort of color match to this. But it probably won't be for a while because honestly, I don't I don't use that much. Here's the awesome brush we're gonna use. This one's called 2. You can buy it from 2. Anyway, so what you're gonna want to do, at least for this, to make your life easier basing, and this applies to uh, other basing schemes too. This especially applies if you're gonna not put black on the base rims, is paint like the this color kind of close to whatever your basing color is. It doesn't have to be an exact match because no one will notice. Like, shove it up as close to the model as you possibly can and fill in like all the black that's not the model. And coverage here is terrible. This is craft paint. It's not no one thought about quality when they were making this. I think the only thing they probably thought of was like make it a somewhat consistent color. You can actually make this paint look really nice, but it takes like 4 layers, and it's not worth it. So in this instance, I paint the entire top of the base, but that's just because this dude is so small. All you really need is the rim, the flat part like on top immediately next to the rim, and I don't know, like a 1/4 inch, not even that, uh, up next to the body, just so that when you come in with this basing material later, you don't have to worry about covering up little spots. This makes it so much easier. It also makes it to where like my base rim is done before my basing is even done, which is kind of weird. But that's just the way that I do these guys, right? So get up close to the little snaky thing. And this is another reason why these are a horrible, horrible demonstration model, is what are they doing on their bases? This dude in particular, it's like it was specifically designed to be impossible to base. Um, it's like they were like, how can I make this as difficult as possible for someone to get down in that hole? And I'm attempting it there. I don't recommend even attempting that, just because of the possibility of getting the paint on your already finished paint job. And you can see, like, I didn't do that good of a job. Like, it's getting up onto the snake body, but don't worry, you won't notice later. So paint all that, paint the rim. Go on, paint the rim, paint it, and then set them off to the side. And this paint, because it is so awful, this is the only thing that I paint multiple layers of. And even then, it's kind of half done. I ran out of paint. Just kidding. I painted him. This is not the point where I ran out of paint. Like I said, water, rub it off, and then it's fine. Who cares? So paint the base rim. Come on, keep going. Do it. Paint it. The camera makes it really difficult because without the camera, I would be holding this like 2 inches from my face, and I would just kind of like just. But I can't do that. So this guy, paint him. Come on, get the more paint. Put it on the palette. Don't run out of paint, guys. But also, for this sort of thing, I don't put a lot of paint on the palette, and the reason that I don't do that is because I'm not thinning paints. I ain't using no wet palette. Wet palettes are for people who care. And also even on the try hard stuff, I've never needed a wet palette. I just end up wasting a little bit of paint. But because I use pretty inexpensive paints for most of my stuff, it doesn't matter. Um, screw that paint. The convenience of me pouring it out the bottle is worth the fraction of a cent of material I wasted. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. Paint the base. I couldn't see what I was doing, dude. This was so hard to paint with the phone on a tripod in front of my face, and like I got one eye on the little screen, making sure it's in focus, sort of, and then I got the other eyes on the model. And for some reason, my brain kept thinking that the phone screen was like a mirror. So you might have noticed when I was like showing the paints off earlier, like I kept trying to like bring the paint like perpendicular to the screen, but I'm moving the opposite way that I should to do that. I don't know. Why would I think it was a mirror? It's clearly not reflecting me in it, but my brain thought it was a mirror. So it could also be like a lack of water. Maybe I'm severely dehydrated. I don't know. Finish all these, okay? And then I'm gonna do a cut here. This is the only cut, but I'm gonna do a cut because I do a second layer, but only around the base rim. But the reason I do a cut is because I need this to be dry before you do it, because this particular paint, you will rip it off if you try to paint a second layer. So we're gonna do a cut. Okay, so we did a cut and then we came back, and all I did during this cut was a second layer of that brown paint around the base rim. And you can kind of see that all I did was the base rim and just the edge where the perpendicular, what do you want to call it? I didn't do the middle. Screw that. I did this. Okay. Don't don't bother with the middle. That's stupid. Don't do that, okay? Just and oh, well it's not covering all the way. Who cares? You will never notice. The only person who will notice is you. The only person who's going to look at this stuff is you. Uh so now we get to go to the diorama effects. Wow. And here's the secret for this, okay? Every video you see is using a paintbrush, and they're like, use a brush you don't care about. That's stupid. Use these super cheap silicone sculpting tools, okay? And I purposefully left this one nasty so you could see what happens. You just peel the stuff off after it's completely dry. So you leave it out there. You can put these things away dirty, and then the business end is totally fine, as you can see. Don't use a brush. That's stupid. Even I, who cares not at all for the brushes, I care about the brushes enough to not use them to do this. That is the most ignorant thing you can possibly do, is use the brush. Because it's a one-time use. You're never going to use that brush again. Not for basing, because it's all jacked up. These, you can use indefinitely. And then you can also use them for sculpting. I use the same ones that I use for the basing for sculpting. Just as soon as they touch super glue, they're done. But they can survive this and still be useful. The business end is unharmed. Just scoop it out, and I only put it on this blade, like the chisel type thing. It's so difficult for me to record this. Uh, Shove it in there as carefully as you can, but I only put it on one side of it. Uh, we're not painting with this. We're kind of spatulaing it on. And what you really don't want to do when you're doing the paste this sort of way, you really don't want to get it onto your model. You can get it off um, without a lot of trouble, but it's kind of hard to make sure that you get all the sand and stuff off, so you'll end up with like little bits of sand everywhere. So make sure it's only on the bottom, and be careful with the, you know, the fiddly parts. And then just slap it on. Just slap it on wherever else. And as long as you kind of just go straight down and pull towards the edge of the base, it really won't go over the edge of the base. So it's no problem that you did your base rims beforehand. What is also going to help you in case you do get some on the edge, which I do, and I'll show you how you remedy that. It's exactly how you would think you would, but since the base rims are very close in color to this basing material, you're not gonna notice the difference in color that like not even a full layer makes here. So wow, I got some on the base, and then I just, use your finger, take it off, and then wipe your finger on the back of your hand. The back of your hand is the perfect spot to do it because you don't have to put down anything. Uh, if you were to wipe it on like a paper towel or something, you'd have to put down your model and like hold the paper towel with one hand. Um, but you definitely want to take it off your fingers. Do not leave it on your fingers. You will touch the next model just like that without thinking about it. As soon as you wipe it off, take it off your fingers and wipe it on the back of your hand. Clean the shaper at a minimum between each model if there's things like this, because you don't want any on the top, you don't want any on the sides. It'll get onto your model. Um, do that. If you're doing like 40 hormigons, yeah, you can slap it like wherever, right? Because they only got one toe touching the ground, and everything else is so high up, you're not going to collide with it. But for things like this, clean it in between each one. All I do is kind of scrape it off on a paper towel, and because it's silicone, it comes right off, and it's not a brush. If you were using a brush to do this, by the time you got to the second model, your brush would be all it would be all funkitated, okay, and you would get things where you don't want them to be. Maybe that's the look you're going for, but I don't particularly like that look. I like for them to look clean and like they just appeared on top of this sand, and that they have no connection to their environment at all whatsoever. It's just it's an effort thing. That's it. That model is completely finished. There's no washes afterwards. Who cares? Don't do that. Um, you chose your basing color carefully, and now you don't have to do that. Clean it off. And we're gonna base them again. The basing. Just a note about the basing. The basing is also kind of like an important thing. There's no way. Look, see, this is what I was talking about. Who designed this? There's no way. You can't do it. So here's what we're gonna do. We're just not gonna do it. We're just gonna kind of put a close up in there. No one can see that. He's the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Nobody can see in between his tail and his body because he's hunched over so much that it's invisible. So just paint around the edge and no one will notice. But your basing color, right? Like this basing color was specifically chosen because the army is like this black blue, blue black, black blue. It's somewhere between black blue and blue black, and so I needed something that was contrasting to that. So, blue, its complementary color is orange, depending on what blue you're looking at, but basically orange, right? And, you know, this base it's brown, but it's basically orange. So that was the choice here. It also was kind of cool, as you know, I kind of like the run around on kind of a Marsy type place. It also makes like this particular color basing. Um, you can have it in a jungle world, and if there's plants around, oh, it looks fine. If it's in the desert, it also looks fine. If it's, in a city, it's not the best. It's not like astro granite type whatever. If it's icy, it's not, astro granite would be good for like icy too, right? But this particular color it's versatile enough for the types of environments I put these guys in, and since I host a lot of the games that I play, I'm in full control of the terrain. I can make it always where I want to be, which helps. So, oh my gosh, look, they're all done, and yeah, they're all done. Um, we're upside down here, but I think you can see that we're all done, right? The idea here was to, give you a close up, but this is awful. So let's let's stop doing this. This is terrible. Let's just get like photos of them, still photos. I don't have the rotating plinth, so still photos it is. Okay, so there he is. They're done. Awesome. Look, they're done again. So cool. Now the cool part. So here is the fully completed 10,000 point army. There's some unique guys in here. We're going to go look through all of them, but here's what 10,000 points of Tyranids looks like. It's on a table. It takes up the whole 6 foot by 4 feet thing. We got Hormagaunts, we got Leapers, we got Alictor, we got Tyrannifex, that one's Acid Spray. We got Biovores, they're custom, love them, beautiful. Quite proud of this idea, actually. We have a Harrowspex. We got a Norn Assimilator, also a conversion. We got a Hive Crone, more Maggots. We got that guy's Malceptor. We got dudes on top of dudes. We got flying boys. We got giant egg things. We got even more giant boys. We got that's an exocrine. Uh Custom exocrine because I don't really like the exocrine model. We got Norn Emissary. We got flying boys. We got these yellow dudes who we're going to look at later. We got warriors, Neurolictor. These are spine fist termagants because I don't like guns. I don't like the guns on the Tyranids. They're animals. Spore mines. Everybody loves those. These are my gene stealers. Uh, those are flying dudes. Um, Yeah, big boy. Look, we already saw that. Like, go somewhere else. Come on, man. Some screamer killers, another acid spray Tyrannifex, brainy things, more Maggots. We got these are more spine fists. Those are devourer termagants. Look at them. That's cool. I came up with that myself. More proud of the spine fist. The face huggers, they're everywhere. Um, We got Carnifexes, just all over the place. Max Neurogaunts. We got Max Neurogaunts. We got a Scythe Tyraduel. We got Flying Hive Tyrant. um, and then, ooh, look, they're coming for you. Oh, wow. Look at that. If only they were a threat in any sort of killing capacity. That would be cool. It sure would be scary then, but right now it's just things to kill, which is also pretty cool. Here's what it would look like if you were an airplane. It's a lot of stuff, dude. Like it's so much stuff. But it's not that much stuff, and I'll show you at the end how it becomes not that much stuff. But the face huggers, I really enjoy the face huggers. Those are the adrenal glands from old kits. And then you got the chest bursters. But the adrenal glands, I have a bunch of them. Now we have like more Reaper swarms than I could ever know what to do with. Uh, so these are my gene stealers, the Cortex Leech, or Mind Slaves, like second edition stuff. Their heads actually pop off, so I can change them out. My flying bat creatures, gargoyles, the guns are gone, replaced them with talons, but they're still gargoyles. They spit at you, okay? The biovores, I'm particularly proud of the biovores. This is my own idea. Original character, please do not steal. Steal it, do it better, I guess. But I was the originator, all right? I did it first. We've got an acid spray Tyrannifex here. I'm also pretty proud of these. I don't like the guns, so I used parts of the acid spray around the mouth, and he spits it out, you know, like a animal. So that's pretty cute. There's two of those guys. This is the Norn Assimilator. It looks good from like this angle, but there's other angles where it doesn't look so great. But it's kind of like, dude, he's like messed up looking, like this hunchback thing. I don't like the Screamer Killer, okay? The Screamer Killer sucks. He's really not my favorite. Um, but whatever. He became an assimilator. A $10 Screamer Killer became an assimilator. And this one I'm quite proud of. This is not an original idea. I did steal this one. The Maliceptor Zoanthrope type body. This is like genius plan. I don't really like the Maliceptor. I thought it was kind of goofy. Now I like him way better. This is Mr. Noodle Arms. That's not his real name, but he's Flying Hive Tyrant, whatever. The Hive Crone, I gave him talons, kind of converted him, looked like he spit and stuff. Look, there's like these special face huggers. Maybe they're like royal face huggers. I don't know. He came out pretty good. And the wings, the wing stuff is just done with that light gray that I showed off in the beginning. You just dry brush that on there. That's how you get it. The Tyrannocyte, um, I don't know if I'm going to show it off, but it comes apart. Uh, this dude is like, he's truly one of my better ideas. This is an exocrine proxy. It's got a zoanthrope torso. That's part of like a tyrannocyte in the back. That's the egg sac from the Turvagon, and then we got like the flying sky slashers that explode when they get you. They come out of the egg sac. That's Hive Tyrant legs and more tyrannocyte parts to make the middle legs, and Gene Stealer claws and like I don't know, a Termagant face. I don't know. Like, I'm very proud of that one. That one's fantastic. A plus. Objectively, it's fantastic. You cannot say that it's not. And then here's his friend, the Armor Cast Exocrine. It's totally legit. Don't pick it up. Uh, you know what? He's so legit. All right, so this is just size comparison because the Haruspex comes from the same kit. So, you know, obviously I had a Haruspex and, based the size off of that. Dude, like, how smart was that idea? It's pretty darn smart. Armor cast exocrine, very cool. I want one of all these little relic Tyranids. That would be kind of neat. Malefactor's on the way. Another acid spray Tyrannifex. Wow. Two Screamer Killers. That's all I can be bothered to do. I'll do a third one, but it'll be a Cortex leached power loader. So that'll be cool. Coming over here, we're gonna look at this giant thing. Um, Look how big it is. Look, that's my hand. My hand is, I don't know, like small, I guess. Small size glove, whatever. Harridan, that's pretty cool. It's it's obviously printed. Like this is not what a Harridan looks like, but it's something. This is actually FDM printed. FDM printing is, dude, it's the way to go now. Like, don't even play. Yep. There's bugs here. Keep looking at them. Are you impressed yet? I painted all of these. No one helped me. No one would, actually. Everyone I asked was like, yeah, F that. So they didn't want to do it. Um, wow. So these are my Termagants. Here's the Devil Gaunt with the Devourer. Look, it's like I don't know, he's got like kind of he's got a serious underbite. Um, but that's how I chose to do it, and that's my conversion. I think it's creative. I'm kind of proud of that one too. It's not that hard to do, but doing 200 of those is going to suck. The Spine Gaunt, these are adrenal glands from Hormagaunts and Termagants old kit, and they go on the side of their little face, and they make the little spine fist shooting thing. The Termagants are kind of, dude, when you got a bunch of these, like, it's hard to tell which one's which. Look at them. It's just a sea of black. The green maybe could be brighter, but anyway, this is Tyrant Guard. You know Tyrant Guard, they cost like $70. You get 3 of them. What if I told you you could kit bash, get someone to give you some Tyrant Claws, and you make them out of barb gaunts? I cast the foot because the barb gaunts are like tripods. So there's like a green stuffed foot for each one of them. This is, we'll call him like the Swarm Lord, I guess, but he's just fully kit bashed out of stuff. Pretty sweet. And here's how everything went together. Actually, this is before I set everything out. I was able to get everything, and I mean absolutely everything, inside of those 3 whatever, Jacoki cases, and those 3 cookie tins, and the cardboard box has the Hierophant, one of them. There's a second one. The completed Hierophant and the Harridan in it. But dude, everything else it fits in 3 of those boxes. The Jacoki box is like fantastic, and these cookie tins. That's another awesome hack. Use those. They're free. They're free at the end of the year, and they do stack. And people don't want them, so you just take them. And if you're really smart, uh, you go out and buy cookies for everyone at Christmas, and then you tell them all they have to save the tin for you, and then you take it. I'm not that smart. My uncle is that smart. He gives everybody these cookie tins, and then I separately ask them all to save them for me. But anyways, thank you so much for watching the entire video. That was fantastic. I really hope that you are, you don't have to be inspired. Honestly, like, you should probably be concerned for the volume of Warhammer here, and there's more. Trust me. There's another like 6K on the painting bench, but I just really I just wanted to basically let people know that you don't have to meet these stupid standards that Reddit and YouTube have somehow set for armies. Okay. Um, you can have a simple paint job. You can do something that's fun for you, something that you enjoy, and something that you're going to be happy with. And it doesn't have to be uh, golden demon worthy. You know, it can just be spectacle. That's all I was going for, and I think I achieved it. The spectacle is, pretty cool when they're all on the table. Wow. So, anyways, thanks so much. Please go out and paint something, and um, I'm not even gonna do the stupid YouTuber shill. Let me know, are you a dog or a cat person in the comments? If you like dogs, give it a thumbs up, and if you like cats, I don't know, report the video. Who cares, right? I ain't gonna make no money. Anyway, see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed, and if you guys want to see something else, if you like, I'll do the YouTuber thing there. If you want to see like some of the other things that I've mentioned here, there are uh, multiple complete forces, I would say, not necessarily armies, but forces. If that's something you're interested in, maybe I'll do another one. But anyways, catch you guys later. Okay, thanks, bye.